So, hi everyone. I'm excited to have Derek McNamara, the most smiling Irish person I ever met. And Derek, just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Derek McNamara. I guarantee if you come to Ireland, there's plenty of us that are more smiley than me. But my name is Derek McNamara. I am the head of Rugby Operations and founder of Match Sense Rugby. And I have a background initially in rugby coaching and rugby playing, which led me to a hobby of analysis and data collection to
hmm
led me here today.
Okay. So, first of all, a little bit questions about your background. So, I'm interested. You're actually a ex-sport coach. Is that
No,
correct?
actually,
No.
no. I actually started off in working in finance. So I did the usual thing in, I don't know what it's like in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Ireland, it was you go to school, you go to university or college, and then you get a job in a bank. That's what I did up until I was around late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And up until then, I've been working away in kind of finance, working in creating new systems in the banking industry. I started rugby coaching then in my 20s, late 20s, and I kind of became a little bit obsessed with wanting to know if my team was winning or losing. And that's kind of where my kind of story begins from an analytical perspective, which is pretty common, I think, with a lot of people out there who have some of my mentors,
Mm-hmm.
starting something as a passion project, starting
Mm-hmm.
something as a hobby, which, quickly led to the fact that I was able to help coaches and teams and individual players improve based on their previous performance.
Okay, so I'm really interested so you are not a tech guy, or are you a
No, not really. I'm a nerd.
tech?
That's that's very one thing apparent, but I guess my perspective comes from my own playing background. Now, I didn't play at the very highest level, but I would have been a very good player when I was younger, and I would have been able to see the game and understand the game quite young.
Mm-hmm.
And I became I fell out of love with the game for a couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
then got back into then started coaching and kind of realized I had a knack of basically, fundamentally, I wanted to understand if my team was winning or losing because of a specific player,
Mm-hmm.
because of my coaching, or because of a specific skill. Was a team playing
Mm-hmm.
rugby better than us at rucking, or were they better at passing, or were they better at tackling? And I started to use my expertise and my background in kind of Excel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best software to use, but for me it was perfect because it allowed me to start entering in what was happening in the game in a kind of different way to. Now, I didn't know it was different to
Mm-hmm.
anybody else, but fundamentally when I started entering in information into an Excel sheet, pass left, pass right, tackle assist, counter ruck, these sort of fundamental skills of the game. You hear it in American football a lot, fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized that just entering that base level of information wouldn't give you the kind of metrics or the understanding
Yeah.
of how a team is winning or losing. So I naturally started adding in I called it a rating, but we've turned it into kind of accuracy score or grade. Basically, is what it's kind of commonly known in sports cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that skill, that grade of 1 to 5 kind of indicates how accurate the pass was. And I just naturally added in that, and it's an extra layer of analysis, but it was imperative that we collect that information to kind of take away the outcome of the play from the actual pass itself. So, for instance, if I was passing to you and you'd
Yeah.
forgotten your contact lenses today and you dropped the ball, that's currently how analysis is portrayed in rugby. Your accuracy is based upon how many passes you complete.
Yeah.
But that's just not a fair representation of your passing accuracy. What is a fair representation is if we look at every single pass you make
Mm-hmm.
and then give you a score 1 to 5. A 5 means that the pass is like in a baseball strike zone,
Okay.
very
Yeah.
small strike zone, and that allows you to then draw a player, or pass left or pass right. It gives the receiver the perfect opportunity to make more decisions. And then a 4 is a little bit higher, a little bit low, and a 3 is above the head or below the waist. And we grade every single play. So for last season, for instance, we did 1,100 games
Mm-hmm.
and we graded over 4.5 player individual grades, accuracy scores. So every single line out lift, every single line out throw, every single line out receiver, every catch, every kick, every single
Mm-hmm.
activity that we've entered for last season, we have player grades for.
So basically, the whole system was created by yourself out of being a rugby player and being a nerd, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. That it wasn't just for me. I started off when probably 10 years ago. I'm working my way through the Leinster schools situation. So the schools in rugby in Dublin here in Ireland and in
Uh,
Leinster is quite professional nearly, it's a
uh-huh.
professional level. So I had success at schools level, and then moved up into club level, then moved into semi-professional, then professional, and then during COVID I actually joined an American football company where I met Neil Hornsby.
Mm-hmm.
He retired from Neil is an Englishman, set up the American football company who took over the analytics
Yeah.
industry. Every NFL team has PFF, every college team has PFF. All the broadcasters
Yeah.
provide it. And he retired a couple of years ago, so I was able to get him to get involved in the rugby because rugby is his original passion. So
Okay.
himself with a couple of friends, we have been able to kind of build the most in-depth platform that's ever existed for rugby union, and without a shadow of a doubt. We're bringing kind of like probably 5% of rugby teams are able to collect enough information,
Mm-hmm.
the highest teams. So what we're doing is we're leveling that playing ground. We're bringing an international level of performance data to all professional teams, basically. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's been interesting 18 months or 2 years since we started this project.
So you started 18 months ago,
Around that, yeah. I think it was like October, probably 2 years ago.
and the initial idea was to, yeah, just walk us on the initial idea, the how you got into it, and like.
Yeah, so I guess look, all rugby teams are similar to professional rugby team or professional sports teams. They only have a certain amount of time each week to prepare for games,
Mm-hmm.
and their current process comprises of starting with like a very base level data that they get from
Mm-hmm.
other providers. Some teams will just use that data to try and prepare for the next week, which is totally understandable. That's what they've learned and what they know. Other teams will download that information and then add their own layer of information on top of that. So
Mm-hmm.
the actual industry is quite siloed. There's quite a lot of barriers where you have to take this information, add
Yeah.
your own information, and then add video on the back of it. We're taking all that away. We're taking that heartache of analysts to do that work. We're getting games turned around as quickly as possible, but we're providing them with all the information that they would collect themselves. We're doing it for them. And in a system that allows them to access their own video, their own clips, their own information, share that information, share clips, and create playlists, of players, playlists of opposition, and then clip all that up for them and provide it back to them so that they have an easy way of educating, whether it's a analyst trying to
Mm-hmm.
answer questions for the head coach, or you're a head coach wanting to find some real value, some real
Mm-hmm.
top quality players in lower leagues, all the way up to broadcasters, trying to educate people at home. More accuracy, more breadth, more depth. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
going for.
Okay, interesting. So, do you provide a systematic solution to a club, one shop to everything? So they don't need to jump everywhere, and basically you could handle it for them.
Yeah, precisely. So that we listened to a lot of teams' kind of pain points. We've
Mm-hmm.
been working with teams for a couple of years now, and the three major things that they had problems with were level of data. The second thing that they had problems with was the siloed approach. So that there's too many systems. It
Mm-hmm.
takes full-time staff to go in, download this information. It takes more full-time staff to add that information, and then it probably
Mm-hmm.
takes another staff member to put it all together, to find out that something was originally wrong with the original data.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of leads into, like, we're trying to solve for that. We're trying to provide. That was one thing that we learned from the American football side is that this type of approach hands back time to analysts. It's not taking away their job. It's actually allowing them to do more with their time, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally what we're trying to do, we're trying to help teams improve. We're trying to help the game of rugby improve. We're trying to help analysts and broadcasters create narratives to bring that information to fans at home so that they're not just watching a person with a daffodil on their head during the Six Nations. It's the thing we see in February of each year.
Okay.
Or you have broadcasters providing replays while there's stoppages in play when that time could be much better used, educating people at home, showing clips about players, about why a player is a good player rather than,
Mm-hmm.
dead air. We're trying to help coaches, we're trying to help analysts, we're trying to help, journalists, everybody out there. We're trying to improve the overall standard of this industry in rugby because it's definitely rugby has been in a kind of stationary period for a little
Mm-hmm.
while. The analytics and data side of things have been somewhat neglected based upon what we've heard so we're just trying to bring that international level of data and international level of grades and performance and video to the coaches and the teams and the analysts.
Okay, and when you said you had the teams were mentioning some pain points like level of data, too many different sources, right? So when we are talking about the level of data, is it a performance level of data, or is it like even different kind of the metrics, not only performance related?
It really depends. We accuracy is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So we collect multiple layers of data. So we collect the pass or whatever, or the kick, open field kick, or kick at goal, or catch. All these different aspects and skill sets we collect, but we then plot where the locations are of those activities. But we
Mm-hmm.
also plot, multiple locations of activities so that we can identify pressure and understand accuracy and pressure. It's another major thing that came out of the NFL, which is understanding how data transformed NFL, and pressure is one major part of that. So that's something
Mm-hmm.
that we have been built into our data collection process. But it's also understanding the player grades. We spoke a little bit earlier about disassociating the outcome to the
Mm-hmm.
input. Like we said, if we have a line out throw,
Yeah.
the line out throw is really, really accurate, but a player misses a lift, we don't want to downgrade the thrower,
Yeah.
because that player wasn't responsible for that turnover, but we will download the player who missed the lift. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to just we're trying to bring that missing piece to the industry, which is what is the accuracy of a player? What are players making right decisions? Are they physically? Some of our grades indicate physicality in the contact situation.
Oh.
Some of our grades indicate speed on the ball. So one of the things that we look at, and we've listened to coaches from schools and clubs right up to international and the highest level of coaches wanting to understand if their players are running onto the ball. So in rugby, not all the time, obviously it's not all the time, but most of the time, the players that are running onto the ball when they get the ball are the players that are able to make meters after contact or get back to the game line. So our grades are indicating all of those performance metrics. Like everything that we do is related to identifying, one, what type of player this player is, but
Mm-hmm.
secondly, is that player's strengths and weaknesses. And once we understand that, then it's easy enough to pull this information up together from a coaching perspective to then either identify that in your own team, so
Mm-hmm.
understand what your best way of playing or who your best players are. But it's also really important for opposition review. So if you want to identify what your opposition's strengths and weaknesses are,
Mm-hmm.
then if you know your opposition has a strength, but that can be turned into a weakness,
Yeah.
and you're confident in having your ability of your own team to fulfill this game plan, then you can change a strength into weakness. And I'll give you an example. We knew that the best player of an opposition's team was their fullback. So the fullback
Mm-hmm.
is a very important position in rugby. But that fullback was very highly rated, like really
Mm-hmm.
highly rated player. But we knew that this player had problems with catching the ball or possessing the ball when the ball was kicked along the ground. So we knew that the
Okay.
ball was, but we also knew that that player only passed or offloaded in contact. The player would never pass the ball before he actually, um, you'd never pass the ball. You'd always run the ball back.
Yeah. Okay.
So we created a game plan which consisted of kicking the ball to that player all the time, even in their own half. Okay, because
Okay.
we knew that if we kicked that ball to that player,
Yeah.
we knew the player would run back every single time. So we trusted in our game plan. We would keep them away from our scoring situation. Now it resulted in the scoring play because we kicked the ball through to the player. The player bobbled, the ball bobbled. The player dropped the ball over the line, and we won the cup as a result of it. And those game plans in rugby, it's a complicated sport because you've got 15 players on each side,
Mm-hmm.
but those types of game plans, you don't need to give all 23 players in the squad that what the game plan is. You just need your key decision makers to understand that we need to keep them in their half or in their own area, but your defense needs to be really certain in those areas. So that's just a little example of how data in rugby is reasonably easy to kind of see this information and turn an opposition's strengths into your weakness, or weakness into a strength, should I say.
Okay, and with your huge experience, if you would try to prioritize what are the most important things that are key in team winning and then losing, if the team is winning and losing, and I'm talking about the data and metrics, like what is that something that you think that it really, influences the game?
Well, I'm not sure what your understanding of rugby union might be, but rugby is really, we can make it as complicated or as difficult, as difficult to understand. But in reality, in rugby, there are only really four things that happen in the game when the ball goes into play. Like literally four. You've got carrying, you got tackling, you got rucking, and you got passing.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are things like kicking, and there are things like when lineouts and scrums, how the ball gets into play. But
Mm-hmm.
once the ball goes into play, there's literally four things, and in reality, like 70 to 80% of all the passes are made by two players, so two
Okay.
positions. So if you are able to understand those three things, tackling or carrying, tackling, and rucking, and you're able to grade those activities, and you're able to understand those, and you as a coach understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, then that's your basis for every single coach. That's your understanding. So are we able to retain the ball using rucking? Are our ball
Okay.
carriers coming onto the ball? Are they able to make contact? And are our tacklers being able to accurate? Are they accurate, and are they making the right decisions in those
Mm-hmm.
in the correct areas of the pitch? And then leave the skilled players to do the skilled things, whether that's kicking or passing. And obviously, we need to be able to maintain the ball. And the other thing that I would say is that coaches who have a good understanding of those skills
Okay.
are then able to implement kind of game plans. So that, obviously, really good having three really good skilled players is really important.
Mm-hmm.
But I would recommend that, or like it's if you have a good team, the best way to win games is to play as hard, getting as many players to understand what they to do at the same time. So if you have the better team and you're able to have everybody playing as hard, if you have the fittest team and if you've got the most accurate team and you've got the best players, and then the harder you play at the start of the game, the more you can predict the outcome of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this idea in rugby which is it's harder to defend than it is to attack.
Okay.
Okay, so it's harder to defend than it is to attack. The data and the analysis and the information that we've got over the years, contradicts that. It's easier for you to kick and defend territory, but it's so much harder to hold on to the ball. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's so much more difficult to hold on to the ball and score because you can't score without having possession of the ball.
Okay.
From a data perspective, just something simple, not even considering the grades. If you have a ball carrier, in rugby it's called phase play. So, it's like a snap in NFL. How many
Okay.
snaps
Yeah.
you get is based upon phase play. If you were to consider just one phase of play, you'll have one pass, one carry into contact, one ball placement, and then you have one, two, three, probably ruckers. So you have seven instances related to that phase.
Mm-hmm.
But if you turn it around on the defending team, you'll have one tackler, maybe a tackle assist, and maybe a counter rucker.
Okay.
So if you have seven players involved in the attack and 3 only involved in the defense, then that indicates how you have to organize 7 different instances rather than 3
Yeah.
different instances.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding how good your attacking is. That's not to say that kicking doesn't come into it, but if you have a better team and you're able to put pressure on a team early on and drive what happens in the game, then you've got a much better chance of winning. And that's the way it's been for obviously if you have a good back row, a good 2 good half backs in rugby, and then one other really good player,
Okay.
then it makes things a lot simpler. But that's where we come in. We try and find those players real value for teams in the lower leagues.
Okay, yeah, I got you. So basically, for a coach, it's really important to understand those fundamentals that you mentioned. And basically, out of understanding the fundamentals and the metrics out of the fundamentals, they could create a tailored game plan tailored to their actual teams based on the star players they have or they don't have. Is that the way the best
Yeah,
coaches
exactly.
work?
But also understanding what teams are doing in what parts of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So we split our pitch up into different sections. So in rugby, there's a 22-meter line.
Okay.
We don't even we can filter through our system with that. So we have a purpose-built data system that you can basically filter by whatever you want, whatever position you want. We look at the game pitch in different sections. So we have our goal line attack, which is anywhere between the goal line and 15 meters. It's because teams kind of play differently in that area of the pitch. And then we've got from 15 to 30 meters, which is your attack or scoring attack. And then we've got our midfield, and then scoring defense and goal line defense. So understanding what way teams play by understanding if they're going left or right, or how many times they go a certain direction, or how far away, you can start to kind of build a game plan about how certain teams play using data. And understanding that for your own team or understanding that for your opposition allows coaches to not be predictable using data. And that's when you get to the highest level of performance, being predictable. And being an Irish rugby supporter all my life, it's
Uh-huh.
sometimes a bit frustrating from when we're in World Cup finals and we're doing the same thing every single time. But that's how you learn. That's what data can do. And trying to be unpredictable is massive, especially in the professional layers of the game, because you as a coach or a backroom staff or a analyst or a director of rugby or whatever it is, or even the players, you would have been coached a certain way all week long. And if you can cause confusion amongst your opposition straight off the bat, whether that's through tactics of trying to disrupt the passer, or it's implementing a game plan that you thought your opposition had no preconceived ideas that you were going to do this, then that's the first stage of trying to win games using data.
What is the process for a coach to learn how to use data? Do you see any challenges that coaching are facing? And is it a hard mentor transition if the coach has never used the data or use it like not deep, but now he needs to understand it?
Yeah, and I guess that's one thing that I think I was mentioning the 3 things that we spoke about earlier about what the teams are looking for. They're looking for more valuable data, streamlined approach. And the third thing that they were looking for is consumer or customer service. So we totally get that what we're providing is it's not the same as what they've got before. We understand that. So we understand that teams that use our data and use our brand new system, it's not going to be it's going to be similar to what they've used before, but it's so much more valuable. So we know that there's quite a bit of hand holding.
Okay.
So we will hold those analysts, and like anybody who wants to learn about this stuff, I'm very approachable on LinkedIn. We want to find new upcoming analysts that are that want to learn about the game using data, or coaches or fans, or we are trying to get people who are passionate and really love the game of sport and want to work in rugby. They never played at a certain level, but they have an interest and they have a knowledge and they want to learn. but we understand that teams or coaches or people who are going to use our system will need a little bit of help,
Mm-hmm.
but we are here to provide that service as well, and not just give you a blank box to play with and try and figure it out yourself. That we just understand there's no value in that for us.
Okay, yeah, Derek. All right, we are about to head to the end, but I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions. So I'll skip a question of what is your favorite sport, or maybe will we have
Well,
some
my favorite
surprises?
sport
Yeah,
has to be hurling. Hurling. Do
really?
you know hurling?
No, not
Have you
really.
heard of hurling?
No.
Ah, no. Okay,
What's
well,
hurling?
so hurling is an indigenous sport here in Ireland. It's played by certain counties. It's not. There's certain counties. So there's 32 counties in the island of Ireland,
Okay,
but there's only really around 10 or 12 of them that play hurling. It's an amateur sport,
okay,
but it's played all year round. But the kind of county championships is the top kind of 12 teams play against each other during the summertime, and
okay.
the finalists play in front of 82,700 people in Croke Park. So it's the most amazing experience. Basically, it's 15 players playing on a pitch that's twice the size of a soccer pitch,
Okay.
probably maybe a little bit more, but they all have sticks which are called hurls, and the object is to score. They're in rugby posts, so if you hit the ball
Okay.
over the post, it's 1 point, and if you hit under the goal, it's a goal, and it's 3 points. And it's the second fastest sport in the world behind ice hockey, and it's just awesome. It's just physical, it's fast, it's the most skillful sport. Like, you have to play it since when you're like 5 or 6 years old, otherwise you won't get it.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I just Google it. It looks really interesting. Is it
Yeah,
something similar to lacrosse or not really?
it's a mix between lacrosse, ice hockey, and field hockey, I suppose.
Okay,
But it's
yeah.
intense. And these guys are amateur. They're not paid. Everybody that's involved are volunteers.
Okay.
So it's a very, very cool. And then my second sport would probably be American football, and then rugby.
Okay, so I sort of skipped this question, but we can see, surprises over here. Okay, what is your favorite player then? Athlete, I would say. Athlete in anything.
In rugby, is it?
In any sport, like favorite athlete ever.
My favorite, Jos van der Westhuizen, is a rugby scrum half who played for South Africa in the 90s. He was somebody that I tried to emulate when I was playing. He was just an unbelievable player, unbelievable. He broke the trend. So in my position,
Uh-huh.
scrum halves tended to be small and, quite, the smallest player on the pitch. He was 6'1" or 6'2". He was physical. He was skillful and was able to do everything. He was the best scrum half I think that's ever played the game. Um, that was my favorite player of all sports. Yeah, definitely. Yes, Van der
What
Westhuizen.
is what is the favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job is talking sports.
Okay.
Like I started this as a hobby. No, I'd never thought I'd be sitting here talking about this when I started this 10 years ago. I love talking sports. What we do is here to help the sport. It's to help improve the understanding of what's going on in the game,
Mm-hmm.
help players. If there's players out there that we have data on and we want to is looking for some help, if they're happy with their coaching staff to come out, reach out to us, then we can help them show that this player is good at this, but compared to the other
Mm-hmm.
players, they need to work on that. Talking to people that are involved in the game, and just being able to educate people about the game,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what level they are. If they're willing to learn and listen about data and how it can be useful, then we're here to have a chat. And look, we're not trying to force anything down anybody's throat. We're here to use a way in which we collect data to try and improve the performance of players, improve the performance of coaches, and help them win more games.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool
What is?
job.
Yeah, I mean, having job and helping, like you said, helping clubs is awesome. But in every job, in everything, you have a, other part of the coin, which is not the best part always. And what is the, worst part of your job, obviously? Like what you don't like about it?
I don't know. when they do say when you love what you do, there's never you never really like I don't really feel that I work like I don't really like it's funny because like I would work whatever like last year I was working 80, 90 hour weeks, like,
Uh-huh.
but I never once complained or worried or stressed about the amount of data that we have to collect or the amount of processing or training or understanding that we need to do to get the level of data accurate as possible. It's never been a problem. It's just I'm very privileged and very lucky to be where I am and be because of the people around me and the people that I consider friends more so than colleagues.
Hmm.
All my backroom staff that we have grading games and the guys collecting the data and the guys creating the software. Like we have the best of the best here at MatchSense. Like literally the best people from on all areas doing what it is we do for love of it first. It's nothing like it's not to do with money really. It's more to do with the fact that we started this out of nothing and we're trying to bring a level of international data to all teams and level that playing ground and improve the game.
What one advice would you give to someone, let's say, wants to get into the sport tech space?
Do it as a hobby first. Don't intentionally go to make money out of it. It's very hard, very, very hard industry to make money out of or to make a profession out of it. If you're trying to get involved and you're really, really passionate about getting involved, go do it as a hobby. If you're finished up playing, for instance, so say you're in your early 30s and you're like me, I don't watch TV that much. So I just started to tip away is an Irish saying, sorry. And I started just playing with this stuff every evening. And every evening I do a bit more and do a bit more, and I didn't do it to try and make money. I didn't do it to be talking to the top coaches in the world. I did it because it was something else to do than sit on social media or sit in and watching the TV, some crap TV that I didn't like. And that's how it started. It started as a hobby, but if you think you're going to make money out of it and you're getting involved in sports for money, different industries for you.
Okay, Derek,
That's the
inspiring
best idea.
end. Okay, thank you so much. Is there is anything you would like to bring up at the end? Maybe any thoughts that we haven't covered?
No, I don't think so. We're trying to bring this new product to the market. We're very excited. Like I can't express how much work has gone into this new product, how much data has gone into it, how much blood, sweat, and tears with the best people in the world doing that work. So yeah, anybody out there looking for more information, please feel free to reach out through LinkedIn. It's probably the best place to catch us.
All right, guys. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Let's support Much Sense. Let's support Derek. Let's follow their journey. And Derek, appreciate your time today.
No problem at all.